Good morning and welcome to the How to Quit Working webinar. This is Escape the 9 to 5 and Start a Business and do it the safe way, not just stepping off a cliff, the way that you're actually going to have the security and safety and feel like you're stepping off, leaving your job into something that you know is going to work and that you have confidence and don't have to worry about it. I'm Jeff Steinman. Thanks for joining us this morning. So without any further ado, let's just go ahead and get started. Let's jump right into this. Now, I want to start with a couple of housekeeping items. And the first thing that I want to ask is, it's funny that I ask you if you can hear me right as the audio starts coming out of my computer. I first want to ask if you can hear me. So I just want to make sure that we don't have any audio issues, make sure that everybody can hear me loud and clear. Because, you know, one of the worst things that could happen on a webinar is you've got some goofy setting somewhere where your audio is turned off or something weird like that. And I don't want that to happen. So let me know if you can hear me, and then also let me know if you can see the slides. There's a chat box right below this video that you're watching, and all you have to do is click the little sign in with Facebook or Twitter, or if you have a chat roll account, or you can even go in as anonymous, whatever you want to do, just click that, get signed in, and let me know that you can hear and see me. That way I will know that I am not just talking to the air, we're not having some kind of goofy technical issue. Now, questions. I want to talk a little bit about questions before we get started because I want to answer all of your questions. So whenever you have a question, that is what the chat box below is for. So when you have a question, don't hesitate to just get right out there and type it right in, and I will get to it just as soon as I can. I want to let you know two things, though. The first thing I want to let you know is that there's a little bit of a delay in this technology that we're using. So what you actually see me saying is what I said about 12 or 15 seconds ago. So sometimes that can be a little weird if you don't know what's going on. And then also sometimes I am presenting the material and also watching the chat box and doing a couple of other things here. So it gets a little bit chaotic for me to do a number of different things at a time. So if it takes me a minute to get to your question, just understand it's not because I'm ignoring you, but it's because I've got all kinds of things going on, all different kinds of windows I'm looking at as I'm trying to monitor and deliver this great presentation, great material to you. Now, this is also really, this is really good information. You obviously agree with that, or you wouldn't have registered and you wouldn't have taken time out of your busy Saturday morning. Not only is it busy, but Saturday morning is kind of a time after the week is over to just kind of chill, just kind of relax. And you've made the decision that you're not going to do that. Instead, you're going to do something to improve your life and your situation. So I'd encourage you, since you've made that decision, pay attention, pay really close attention, close out your other apps and browsers, and just really focus on the material that we're doing here, because this is some really, really good stuff that can really change the trajectory of your business completely. And then I also always like to show you that this is not one of those silly pre-recorded webinars. I am actually live. This is me. I am in St. Louis. It is April, I think, let me look, the 18th, 2015. And it is a beautiful morning here in St. Louis. And I'm glad to be with you all. I wanted to show you that I am indeed live, but you don't want to look at my face all day. You want to look at this great material that we've got here. So let me get it switched back over there. All right, now we're back. Let's talk about our agenda, what we're going to cover today on this webinar. The first thing is, who the heck is this guy? I mean, many of you may listen to the How to Quit Working show. You may have clicked on a Facebook ad to get to this webinar. You may have no idea who I am, but I'm going to answer that question for you because I think you probably want to know who you're taking this information from. And then you also might want to know, who the heck is this stuff worked for? Who's actually taken this stuff and done something with it? And I'm going to answer that question for you on the webinar as well. Now, you're also going to learn a couple of things. You're going to learn, if you don't have a business idea, you're going to learn how to get one, and how to get one that works, and how to get one that you know is going to work. And then number two, if you do have a business idea, you're going to learn how to figure out if it's any good. Two of the biggest questions that I get are, Jeff, I don't have a business idea. How do I start a business so I don't even know what business I want to start? Well, we're going to answer that question for you. We're going to show you how to get one. And then the other question that I get so frequently is, I have a business idea, but I just don't know if it's going to work. I don't know if anybody's going to buy it. I don't know if it's any good. We're going to answer that question as well. And then, of course, how to be certain that that business idea is going to work before you quit your job. And I've got some great stories for people who've used the techniques, and I can show you what happens when you don't use the techniques as well. All right, now, to get huge results, you've got to brace yourself for some really amazing content. And I can't give it to you all on this webinar, because what I do is I intend to keep this under 90 minutes, and usually it goes about an hour and 15 to an hour and a half. And I certainly can't pack everything in to that very short time frame. So towards the end, I'm going to show you how you can go farther with these techniques, and how you can do more, and how you can get more help from How to Quit Working. And the folks who get the huge results, folks like I'm going to show you on this webinar, are the folks who invest in themselves and are willing to put their money where their mouth is. And they've said, you know what, this is something that I really want to do, and I'm going to move forward, and I'm going to put the money towards it to get the results that I want. All right, now, who in the heck is Jeff? Well, I am this author of the #1 best-selling book, which is called How to Quit Working. We hit #1 bestseller on Amazon last fall. It was really cool. It was really fun. We sold a lot of books, and really cool to be able to see so many people quitting their job and starting a business using all of this great information. I'm also a freedom fanatic. I believe that the only thing that is really important in life is freedom, and being able to do what we want and being able to pursue the things that are important to us is of utmost importance to me, and I believe it's of utmost importance to everyone. Unfortunately, we live in a world that does not enable us to have that, and that's what I want to change with How to Quit Working. I'm also an entrepreneurship fanatic, but only to the extent that it enables freedom. I do love entrepreneurship, I do love business, but I only love it because it is an enabler of freedom. I think that's so important to get really clear on what's really important, right? When you look at why do you really want to start a business? Do you really want to start a business because you're really in love with starting a business? Or are you really in love with the idea of the freedom and independence and unlimited upward financial potential that it gives you? I'm also a business and marketing consultant and real estate investor. Now, I have on the How to Quit Working show, which many of you probably listen to, I have interviewed nearly 200 successful entrepreneurs. I have interviewed folks like John Shear, the founder of Video Professor. This guy, he invented this product that taught people how to use their computers back in the 1980s when nobody knew how to use a computer. And I interviewed Debbie Travis, who is basically she invented the home improvement television category. She's kind of like the Martha Stewart of Canada, and she has had a number of successful television shows, but she got her start when she was doing some painting techniques for her friends and family, and they kept asking her how to do it. So she created a VHS video and showing people how to do this, and it ended up selling about $1 million worth in the first year. So great entrepreneurships from lessons from Debbie Travis. David Klein of the Jelly Belly Jelly Bean Company. David Klein, back in the 1970s, it was 1975, I believe, invented the Jelly Belly Jelly Bean. And David is just a fascinating guy. Not only is he extremely passionate about candy and loves everything about candy, David also is a huge entrepreneurship fanatic, and he is extremely intelligent about entrepreneurship. He's had a lot of different businesses and done a lot of things, and he's shared a lot of really great lessons on the show. We had Jennifer Page, who sung and performed the song Crush. You probably remember that from the top 40 charts a couple of years ago. She was on the show, and she's building a great platform where she's helping people who are looking to get into the music industry to do so without kind of learning as many things the hard way as she had to. So she wants to take what she's learned about the music industry and help other people to get into it in an easier way than she did. And I also talked to Dan Pena, who made his money in oil. Dan is a multimillionaire who has been financially independent since the early 1990s and has dedicated the remainder of his life to helping other people also to be financially independent. Lots of great business lessons from Dan, as well as many, many other successful entrepreneurs on the How to Quit Working show. Very, very, it's been very, very fun to learn all the lessons and share all this stuff with you. Now, I'm also a contributor to the Huffington Post, Life Hack, and Elite Daily, and I have, as well as How to Quit Working, been featured in a number of major media outlets. But let's get down to what is really important. Let's talk about kind of my journey. And I think as I talk about this, I think you might identify with some of the things that I'm going to talk about here. So I'm just a regular guy that grew up in a small town in the Midwest, and I grew up in a town where entrepreneurship wasn't something that we talked about. I don't think I even knew what that word meant until I was well into college, probably. And so the mentality was that what you do is you get up and you go to college and you figure out what you're going to do, and you learn how to do that in college, spending a ton of money that you really can't afford. And then you go do that until you retire. And every single day you get up and you go do something that you really don't enjoy, that you don't really care about. And that's the way life is. And that was the only thing that was ever presented to me as an option. And I don't think that's not uncommon. That's the story that we tell most people, or we tell most children in this world. So I did that. I went down that path. I went to college, and ended up taking me about 13 years to get through college, because I just couldn't see the point in it. I couldn't figure out why there was any point in doing in going to college and learning the stuff that they were teaching me. And as I was going along, you can only bounce around from college to college for so long. So eventually I had to make some money. So in the late 90s, I sort of stumbled into a career in technology, and began doing some programming, and eventually managing large projects and programs. But what happened was, a couple of years in, I began to see the trajectory. I began to see, okay, this is how you move up the ladder, and it's really pretty simple. This is how you move up the corporate ladder. This is what you have to do. These are the hours you have to put in. These are the things you have to accomplish, and so on. And as I'm looking at that, I'm looking kind of up the ladder, and I'm thinking, I don't know that that's where I want to go. I think there's more to life. I think that I would like there to be something else in my life. I think there's something bigger. I think there's something that would be more fulfilling, that I would enjoy more, and it would give me more financial independence and an unlimited upside. An unlimited financial upside is one of the biggest things that appealed to me about having my own business. So in 2000, it was in 2000, 2000, I decided that I wanted to start a business, and I had what I thought was a really great idea, and I thought that I really had it figured out. And I did some research. I began working on it a little bit on the side, and I reached a point where I was confident enough in the idea that I made an appointment with my boss to resign. And I had begun to develop a little bit of traction kind of in my corporate career at this point, and was earning a decent salary. So it really felt like there was something pretty substantial that I was giving up. And I also wasn't sure that what I was getting ready to do was going to work. But I was close enough, and I was confident enough that I made the appointment to resign. And it was at 8 o'clock on a Thursday morning. And I remember going into the office and walking down to the conference room where this meeting was going to be. And I had my resignation letter in a little folder in front of me. And I sat down at the desk, and my boss wasn't there yet. And it took him a minute or two to get there. And he finally got there, and you could just tell he was in a big hurry, and just really wanted to get this meeting over. So he kind of came in, he sat down, and he said, "Okay, Jeff, what's this meeting about?" And I remember just kind of looking in his face and looking in his expression of hurry up, just get to the point, and realizing that this was the moment that I had to sort of step off the cliff. I had to make the decision to leave the security of my job and rely on a business idea that at the time wasn't proven, and I had no idea if it would work. And as I was sitting there looking at him and needing to kind of make the decision, I completely chickened out. I just made up some silly reason why I'd asked for the meeting. So we were finished in a few minutes, and I went back to my desk, and I remember sitting down and thinking, well, it's okay. You know, you can retire in 45 years. I was in my mid-20s at the time. That wasn't much of a comfort, but what happened on that day was I resigned myself. I resigned to the idea that I was going to work a job for the rest of my life, and that there wouldn't be anything else for me, and that was just how it was going to be. And I made the best of it. I decided, well, if this is what I'm going to do, I'm going to work my way up the ladder. So I worked really hard in my job, and I did well, and I moved up the ladder. I was, as I said, managing fairly large projects and programs. I ended up managing some of the largest bank mergers in the industry from the technology side. And what happened was, as I was moving through that career, I kept seeing that really every time you move another rung up the ladder, you're just getting more of the crap that you don't like, right? So it's more of the responsibility, it's more of the bureaucracy, it's more of the work that you don't enjoy. And every time there was a raise or a promotion or something, what happened was I was like, okay, so I go out for a steak dinner and have a nice bottle of wine to celebrate. And then the next day I go back to more of the crap that I don't like. And the whole time knowing that, yeah, you can make more money, but there's always a cap. There's always a limit on the amount of money that you can make in a corporate job or any kind of a job, because that's the way it works. HR sets scales of how much different people in different roles can get paid. And that just wasn't enough for me. And I began to research entrepreneurship and go at it again, but more intelligently. I began to learn everything that I possibly could. I began investing in real estate, and I began working on the side to start my business, a marketing consulting business. And eventually in April of 2012, I did finally have that meeting again, and I did resign with confidence in that meeting, knowing that I had something that would indeed work. So that's my story. Now let's talk a little bit about how to quit working can help you. Now, but I want to start first with who we can't help. And we cannot help anybody who has the victim mentality, anybody who believes that somebody else or something outside of them is responsible for their success or failure. And there's really two types of people in the world. There's the people who believe that it is somebody else's responsibility or someone else's fault. And then there's the people who believe that it is up to them to make their life everything that they want it to be. And if you're one of those folks that has the victim mentality, we can't help you, because this is a lot of work. This is a situation where you got to roll up your sleeves and you've got to do a lot of work to make this happen. And if you believe that that is someone else's responsibility, or that failure is somebody else's fault, it's just not going to work for you. Now, there's also tire kickers. So tire kickers are those folks that go to the used car lot on Sunday, and they like to look at the cars, and they like to shop around, and they just like to look at them because they like looking at cars, and there's nothing wrong with that. But those folks are also not people who are actually going to get cars. They're not actually going to buy cars. So when we get a lot of those folks around How to Quit Working as well. They're folks who have decided that they're interested in this idea of entrepreneurship and starting their own business, but they're not really serious about it. They're not actually going to take any action. They're just kind of wandering around trying to figure out if this thing is actually possible, or if there's any potential that it might work. And then there's folks who want to get rich quick, and those folks we're not going to be able to help you here at all. In fact, nobody's going to be able to help you here unless you know a way to somehow get a rich relative and have them die. There is no way to get rich quick. That's the only way. And if you can figure that out, then you don't need How to Quit Working. But and if anybody else tells you that they can teach you how to get rich quickly, then they're probably somebody that you should turn the other way and run really, really fast from. Lazy people. This is a lot of work, and there's no bones about the fact that this is a lot of work. And if you're not willing to get up and do the work every single day and put the work in, then you're just not going to get the results, and we can't help you. And if you like TV more than living your life, then we probably can't help you there either. All right, this is something that requires sacrifice. It requires a lot of work, and it requires getting really clear and really focused on what is important to you in life and what is not. Now let's talk about who we can help, because this is a little bit more fun. So if you're working a full-time job and you know that there is more to life, typically have been studying about entrepreneurship and business and self-development for a while, and you're at that point where you've seen that a lot of other people are doing things that are really, really amazing and things that you want to do, then you're probably somebody that we can help. And if you're ready to do something about it, then you also are somebody that we can help, because you've got to be able to take action. And folks who come to How to Quit Working are folks who take action. And you have, as I said, been exploring business and entrepreneurship for a while. So if you've been exploring business and entrepreneurship for a while and been kind of poking around and trying to figure out the whole thing out, then you are somebody that we can definitely help. And then finally, if you're committed to taking action, if you're ready to say, you know what, yep, it is time, let's go, let's do this thing, then you are somebody that we can help. And if you are smart and talented and motivated, then we can definitely help you. One of the things I love about How to Quit Working is that we do tend to attract really smart, really talented, motivated, and just genuinely gosh darn nice people. So thank you for being here. I'm glad that you're here. And if you are not the right person for How to Quit Working, in all likelihood, you've turned this webinar off by now. You have either left, or you've just decided it's not for you, or maybe you just didn't even sign up. So now I feel confident that we've got the right people here, the right people watching, and I look forward to showing you how you can quit your job and start a business. Now, there's certain challenges that we help you get past. Now, many folks just don't know where to start. You just don't have any idea where to get started. And that's not surprising, because nobody taught you how to do business and entrepreneurship in school or anywhere else. So it's understandable that you don't know where to start. You're not a business expert. Of course you're not, because as I said, we didn't teach anybody. We don't teach children how to be entrepreneurs. We don't teach children how to start a business in school. So you don't have a bunch of extra time. Well, of course, if you're working a full-time job and you're starting a business, you obviously don't have a bunch of extra time. And that's only the beginning of it, because you might have some kids, you might have a family, you might have some extracurricular activities. You have just the day-to-day responsibilities of living your life, eating, brushing your teeth, mowing the grass, doing the laundry, and all of those things. One second while I take a drink. And of course, you haven't come up with that billion-dollar idea yet. If you don't have that billion-dollar idea, it is totally okay. You don't need it. We're going to show you how to start a business even if you don't have that billion-dollar idea. Very few people ever get that billion-dollar idea in their life. And of every 100 people who get it, a fraction of one even begins to implement it. So billion-dollar ideas are not important. You don't need one of those. Most of all, you have bills to pay and you need the income from your job. This is the most key thing of all, right? Everybody wants to quit their job and start a business, but the biggest thing that you keep thinking in your head is, how am I going to pay these bills? What if this business doesn't work and I've quit my job and I don't have a paycheck anymore? How am I going to make this work? We show you exactly how to get past that challenge by identifying and proving a business idea before you ever resign. Now, you don't have to gamble. It doesn't have to be like stepping off of a cliff. Now, don't get me wrong. Entrepreneurship will never be without risk. In fact, risk is embedded in the definition of entrepreneurship. But you don't have to put it all on the line. You don't have to put all of your cards on the roulette table and just hope that it works, because you can prove your idea before you ever quit your job. And that is the absolute key to this thing. And what that means is that you can resign finally with peace of mind. You can walk into your boss's office with confidence, knowing that you've got something that will work when you finally give up that security of that paycheck. And that is what we do here. Now, let me show you a couple of examples. This is actually the day that I finally successfully resigned from my job forever in April of 2012. Now, this is a point that I had gotten to where I had identified my business idea. I had already begun speaking with customers, and I had a few customer commitments, and finally had that level of confidence that I truly had something that I knew would work. And I was able to make this phone call. My boss was actually in a different city, so we did this over the phone. So here's now me resigning in April of 2012.
This is Ron.
Hey, Ron, this is Jeff. How are you doing?
Pretty good. Yourself, Jeff?
Good, good. So I've got a little bit of news for you. I am resigning effective the 13th of April.
Okay.
So Friday the 13th, a week from this Friday, will be my last day.
Okay. I'm assuming you found another opportunity?
Actually, I've been working on my own business for a couple of years now, and it's the time was finally right to make the transition.
Really? Yeah. Wow. I'm very impressed. Happy for you.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I am incredibly excited. I did not sleep one wink last night, I'll be perfectly honest. This moment is actually a culmination of a lot of planning and a lot of preparation over, really like 15 years when you really look back at kind of where my head is at.
And that was it. And haven't looked back ever since. I also want to show you a video from Jason Torres, a member of our How to Quit Working community and client who resigned from his job. This is a great video.
How are you doing? Jason here, coming to you from Charleston. It's about probably 11:30 Eastern time. I don't know how much time I have on the video. I think my memory is full or coming full really quickly. So this video is for Jeff Steinman and everyone in the How to Quit Working community. I made a promise that on the day that I quit my job, which is right now, that I would shoot a video. I don't know if that's going to happen. So if not, I'm going to take a photo of me clocking out for the last time. But I just quickly wanted to thank Jeff. Thank everyone that's been so supportive, and I'm just doing this for those, so you can see that what's possible. That you can make a decision to quit your job, and not just to quit your job to sit on your ass, but to quit your job to do work that matters. And so for me, that's to become an entrepreneur, provide value to the marketplace, and do the best work of my life. And I couldn't do that without making the decision to finally quit my job. So Jeff Steinman, thank you so much, brother. Thanks for everybody that's believing in me. And for everybody else in the How to Quit Working community, you guys can do the same thing. Take care, take charge, and I'll see you all over the top. Take care. Bye.
Amazing story. I love that. Jason's doing some really amazing things now. Now, let's talk about getting you to that point, and it is possible. I want to show you a couple of statistics that I came across the other day when I was preparing for a talk that I was getting ready to do. Small, and this comes from Forbes, and the website listing is there at the top. Small businesses have generated over 65% of the net new jobs since 1995. When we look at like jobs and employers, we tend to think of big companies, but really the stats show it really clearly that, yes, small businesses are the ones who've generated over 65% of the new jobs since 95. There's approximately 543,000, over 500,000 new businesses that get started each and every month. 52% of all small businesses are actually home-based. there was 22.5 million non-employer firms in 2011. And what a non-employer firm is that's a firm that doesn't have any employees. So that's just a one-man or one-woman show that's run off the dining room table or out of the basement or a spare bedroom. And approximately 75% of all U.S. businesses are non-employer businesses. Isn't that crazy? 3/4 of U.S. businesses do not have a single employee. Mind-blowing. Total revenues from non-employer businesses hit $989.6 billion, that's billion with a B, in 2011. And then finally, there's over 2 million non-employer businesses that made more than $100,000 a year, and 27,000 made more than $1 million. The reason that I put these statistics up here is to show you that, yeah, people are doing this every single day. This thing that we're talking about here, this thing that we're talking about of quitting your job and starting a business, this is something that people do every single day. In fact, 543,000 people every single month do this. And these statistics are from 2011, which is a little bit old, right? So and we've seen a steady growth in entrepreneurship over the past couple of years. So if you don't think it's possible, look at these numbers and look at what people are doing every single day. Now, I want to talk about somebody who did it. This is a picture of Daniel Vance. Now, Daniel is a client of How to Quit Working. I want to tell you a little bit about his story and his journey. Basically, he read How to Quit Working in, let's see, this is 2000, I guess it was late 2013. He read How to Quit Working. And what happened when he read that book was he discovered that there was another option. He discovered that he didn't have to continue working this job that he was working for the rest of his life. He was a guy who'd been in the restaurant industry for many, many years. I think it was 12 or 15 years. It was a very, very long time. And he'd been doing everything, every different aspect of the restaurant industry that you could imagine. So he had been a manager, he had been a server, he'd done all of the kind of entry level jobs in the industry. He'd done it in fine dining, he'd done it in fast food, and at the time he was working for a major fast food franchise. He doesn't want me to say the name, but it's a big one that you've probably eaten at. And his job in his region was to go into the restaurants that were underperforming, so the worst performing restaurants, the ones that were losing money or didn't have any customers or had really big problems, the lowest ones in the chain, and completely turn them around. So he would go in and he would make whatever changes were necessary, if that meant staffing changes or process changes or marketing changes or whatever it took to turn the restaurant around is what he would do. So he read the book and he discovered that, okay, yeah, actually people do that all the time. People start businesses all the time. So why can't I do it? And he then joined the How to Quit Working program. And what then happened was really cool. He looked at what is the value that he can provide to the marketplace. And he knew that he had the skills to turn around restaurants that aren't performing, because he does that every single day, right? That's what he does in his job. And he knew that he could do that without having to be tied to an employer. So what he did was he started a business where he would go into underperforming restaurants and do this independently. And he would go in there and they would pay him money to turn them around. And he's done this for several clients now. In fact, his first month in business, he made $7,750, which is pretty amazing. And this picture that you see is him at the, I believe this was the Cardinal playoff games in 2014. He's a big Cardinal fan and was able to buy box I think it was box seats behind first base and really get to enjoy the game. It's so cool that he's able to now put the things that he loves and the things that he cares about at the center of his life. Now, the last update that I got from him, he was in discussions with investors about opening his own restaurant, But the thing that's so cool is that while that's been his dream for a very long time, he's now stepping back and looking at it from a different perspective, right? Because he's saying, you know what, I already have this business that's doing really well, and I like the lifestyle that it affords me, because he's designed it in such a way that he gets to work when he wants and do everything kind of on his terms and get paid really well for it. And he's really stepping back and thinking, you know what, I'm looking at this from the standpoint of, do I really want this? Not from the standpoint of the money. Right, because so many decisions that we have to make in our life are first about money, right? When you get up in the morning, when that alarm clock goes off, you think to yourself, well, I have to go to work. Well, why do you have to go to work? Well, probably because you need the money. Well, Daniel's now in a situation where when opportunity comes to him, it's not based on the money. It's based on what does he really want to do? Because the money's taken care of, because he's got a great business that's making very good money and doing very well. So one of my favorite stories from How to Quit Working, and let's talk a little bit about how Daniel did it and how you can do it as well. This is where it gets a bit crazy. Now, I want to get really frank, honest, and kind of intense here. And I want you to listen really carefully, because this concept that we're going to talk about here will absolutely make or break your business. You might find out that you're on the wrong track, and you might find out that you need to go a different direction if you've already started down the path. Now, if you haven't started down the path, that's great. You're going to learn how to go down the right path in the right way. Now, we will never, ever get everything in. It's just not possible in the amount of time that we have, but you will definitely get the basic idea. Now, if this resonates, you can definitely go farther with us at the end. Let's start by talking about ideas, but let's start before that with me taking a drink, because my mouth is a little bit dry. All right, thank you very much for allowing me to take a drink. Now, ideas. Forget about ideas. Ideas don't have anything to do with successful business. They may or may not work. If you have an idea, it might work and it might not work. They aren't what make a business successful. You need a different approach. And the problem with the way folks go about starting a business is they believe that they have to come up with a really brilliant idea. They believe that they have to think up a great idea, and then if they have a really good idea, then they will make a lot of money. And if they have a really bad idea, they won't make any money. And it just doesn't work that way. You have to have a different approach. You can't go chasing ideas. You have to have a product or service that you've proven that people want. And what I like to tell folks a little bit about the infomercial industry when we talk about this, because ultimately what you have to understand about business, and I think if there was one concept about business that you have to understand, and that it's critically important to understand really, really well to be successful, it's this. You have no idea what anybody wants. The human mind is an extremely complex machine. I am not able to get inside of your head and know what you want. And you're not able to get inside my head and know what I want. And you certainly can't know what a bunch of potential customers as a whole want. It's just human behavior, and human decision-making is just way too complicated for any of us to ever be able to sit back and say, oh, I think I've got this great idea, and I think that people will want this. So the infomercial industry is an important industry to understand, because that industry gets this idea of not knowing what people want better than anyone else. And let me explain to you why that is. If you want to create an infomercial, you spend a minimum of $100,000 producing the infomercial. And then that's before you've even purchased any airtime. And the way that industry works is that when they have an idea that they believe is worth trying, here's what they do. They go out and they manufacture some minimal amount of the items. It's probably a couple $100,000 of these Snuggies or widgets or whatever they are. And then they produce the infomercial, and then they buy airtime in test markets. So they'll purchase airtime in a couple of test markets, usually smaller markets throughout the US, maybe 5 or 6 different ones. And they run the commercials. They run the infomercial on that, and then they see if anybody calls and orders the product. That's what they call testing. They call that testing the idea. And the infomercials that you see are get this, the 1 in 10 of those ideas that actually worked. So for every infomercial that you see on TV, whether it's Beachbody or whether it's Snuggie or Chia Pet or any of those big ones that we know of, for every single one of those that was successful enough that you actually see it on TV, 9 of them failed. Now, I explained to you how expensive this industry is to get into. What that means is that you have the best and the brightest and the smartest and the most successful people who are doing this, and they can't even get it right more than 1 out of 10 times. The important thing to take away from that is not anything negative or feeling like you can't be successful, but the thing to take away from that is to realize that even the best and the brightest people in the industry, in the sales industry or in the business industry, can only get it right 1 out of 10 times. So that's why you can't look at ideas as the thing that's going to make or break your business. You have to have a different approach. Now, that's what we're going to talk about here. Now, what you have to have is you have to open that conversation with folks and learn what they want before you create it. And let's talk about a 3-step process that I've developed for doing that. So the first thing you have to do is you have to identify problems. You have to identify, where do people have problems? Where are there issues in their lives that someone needs to address and that they're willing to pay money to have addressed? And then the second thing is to create solutions. Create a solution to that problem. And then finally, sell it. Now, let's break that down a little bit. So the first thing you want to do is you want to look at, okay, where can you add value to the marketplace? Where can you add something? Where can you provide value? And the way to start that, to identify that, is to start by asking, what do people ask for your help with? So when people come to you and they ask for your help with something, what is that thing about? What does your employer pay you to do? So today, your employer pays you to do something. They pay you to answer the phone, or they pay you to manage something, or they pay you to make something, or they pay you to work with some people, or build some relationships, or something like that. There's something that somebody is already willing to pay you to do. And that's a really key thing to understand. When people ask for your advice, what do they ask for it about? When they say, hey, come over here, will you come over to my house and tell me what you think about this? Will you help me with that? Will you give me your opinion on that? When people are coming to you, what is it about? And that's a really key thing to think about, because what you're really doing is you're getting at where does the world already look to you to provide value? Where does the world already look to you for value? Where do they look and say, this person provides value here. I'm going to seek him or her out in this arena. And then look at, in that arena where people are already looking to you for your help advice, where do they need help? So where do they need some sort of an improvement in their life or their business or their relationships or anything else that might be important to them? One of the examples that I like to give here is parenting, right? So if you're somebody who has got some really great kids, they are really well behaved, they get really good grades in school, and they always sit still, and they never get in trouble, and people are always asking you, how did you raise such great kids? And If that's the case, then that's where people are gravitating towards you. And then let's look at what improvements folks might need in their life or their business or their relationships. Well, they might have some kids who aren't getting such good grades. They might have kids who aren't behaving the way that they would like them to. They might have kids that aren't able to sit still or focus or go to sleep at night. Any number of issues that you might have with kids. So looking at where do folks want an improvement in their life, their business, their relationships, and so on. And when folks are looking to you for that advice, you're getting clues about where it is that they're looking for help, because they're saying, hey, your kids are really well behaved and they get really good grades in school. And I'm asking you this because my kids are getting really bad grades right now. Right. So this is start beginning to give you some clues as to where you might be able to provide some value. What are they struggling with? What is the thing that they're really looking for, an improvement of some sort in their life? In other words, what is really, really important to them? It's really, really important to these parents that they raise amazing kids, that they raise kids who grow up to be great, wonderful, talented, successful, caring, loving adults who are productive members of society. So understanding what is really important to these people. Now, we're talking about this example of parenting, but you can apply that to any different type of a situation. Now, the next step is to gather information. You've got to step back and learn more about the situation. So talk to people. There's so many different ways that you can engage with and interact with people these days. You can use networking events. You can use social media. You can talk to your friends and family. You can take every opportunity to get feedback. You know, there's so many, once you figure out kind of what this topic area is, it's amazing how many opportunities that you'll have to connect with people. For example, if people ask you a lot about brewing beer, for example, maybe that's your hobby and you've been doing it for a while and you're really good at it, then you'll find that there are meetups about brewing. You'll find that there are tons of online groups about brewing. You will find that there are probably not-for-profits and organizations and websites and things that are all devoted to that, all places where you can go and become active and learn about what it is that people are looking for in that area. And you just got to open up your mind. And this isn't about selling. This isn't about going to a meetup to sell a product. This is about going into a community or a place where people who have this particular issue are congregating and are talking about it so that you can find out what it is that they need help with. And then when you look at the value that you can provide, and then or the solution you can provide, and you look at the problems that people have, look at where they intersect. And where they intersect is your hypothesis. So when you look at, okay, parents have a really hard time getting their kids to go to sleep at night. I have identified a couple of really effective techniques to get your kids to go to sleep at night. Well, that's a hypothesis, right? So that's where we're starting to see, we think there might be a fit. We believe that there is possibly a fit there. Well, now that you've got that idea, now that you see where some value that you provide and a problem that folks have intersect, this is where you sell. You ask people if they want to buy that solution that you have offered to them. This is how you find out if it's going to work. And you have to do this, excuse me, you have to do this really fast. This shouldn't be like a 6-month or 8-month process. This should be like a 2 or 3 week process. Because here's the reality of it is. The reality is that the only successful business idea is one that is validated, or I should say the only good business idea is the one that is validated because somebody has taken out their wallet and they have given you money for it. That is how you get a business idea validated. Now, you can't get it validated without going out and asking people to buy it. So asking people if it's a good idea or not doesn't work. The only way that you can validate it is by asking people if they will buy it. And here is the reality. The first time, they probably won't. The first time that you identify a business idea and you identify a problem and you come up with a solution for it, the first time, people probably aren't going to buy it because you're probably going to miss the mark. Because remember, human beings are extremely complex. There's a whole lot that goes on in our heads that you will never know about. So you can't probably get it right the first time. The second time, you still probably won't get it right. The second time is going to be kind of like, well, I don't know. It feels like you're a little bit closer. The second time is going to be more like, well, this sounds good, but. Now, the third time, you're going to start getting closer because you're going to listen to the feedback that you got the first time and the second time. And you're going to know that folks are saying, okay, well, I'm really looking for something more like this. And now by the third time, you've gotten it dialed in, you've gotten it tailored a little bit closer to where you're really starting to get a good idea of what people really, truly want in that arena. Now, I just told you that you're going to have to do something probably more than 3 times to really get it good. But I just told you that you're probably going to fail the first couple of times. And I know that's hard for folks to hear. But I want to address it because you have to, if you want to be successful in business, you have to change the way you think about and look at failure. You have to look at failure not as this big bad thing, but rather you have to look at it as one step closer to success. That's all failure is moving one step closer to success. There is no successful business out there that hasn't failed many, 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 many times. And the problem and the biggest thing that holds us back from quitting a job and starting a business is that fear of failure. And there's a couple of things that you've got to do to reverse that. The first thing that you got to do is you got to quit looking at failure as a bad thing. You have to stop looking at failure as this big thing that is the end of the world, like this train that I'm showing on in the picture. You've got to quit looking at it like it's this big dramatic thing that has a big consequence. And then the second thing that you have to do is you have to figure out a way to let yourself fail in a safe way. Quitting your job with an idea that you don't know if it's going to work or not, that's not safe. There's nothing safe about that. That is, in many ways, kind of reckless to just quit your job and not have any idea if you have something that's going to work or not. Now, that technique does work for some people, but for most people, you got a family to support, you've got bills to pay, and you don't want to just jump off of that cliff. So the way that you have to look at it is you have to figure out, okay, how can I figure out a way to fail safely and to fail in a way that's not going to be the end of the world and isn't going to cause my financial world to come crashing down. And that's what we're doing here. I'm trying to show you ways to get out there and do little things while you're still working to get the seed of the idea and to get the idea proven out. And again, I can't emphasize enough, proof. A proven idea does not mean that your sister-in-law or your brother or your mom or your best friend said that they think it's a good idea. It means that somebody who actually wants that thing has taken their wallet out and paid for it. That's the only thing that is about validation. And I'm trying to show you how to get that validation before you quit your job. All right, now I want to give you a bonus tip. And this is from the high performance module of the program. And it's one of my favorite things to do. It's something that I find to be very effective. And I work with all my clients to put this into place. But start off each and every day by determining the 3 things that will move you forward more than anything else. What are the 3 things that will move you forward more than anything else? When you wake up in the morning, identify the 3 things that you need to do that will make you closer to your goal than you were before. Identify those 3 things and then do them. Absolutely do them. So do those 3 things after you identify them, and then end your day. This is really important. End your day by crossing those things off of your list and going to bed a winner. You've got to go to bed a winner every single night. You've got to go to bed every night feeling like you've been successful. And being successful doesn't necessarily mean making money or accomplishing things. It just means doing the things that you knew that you needed to do that day to move yourself towards your goal. Huge bonus tip. If you do that every day for the rest of your life, you're going to be insanely, insanely successful. Now, the question that I get is, well, okay, Jeff, if it's this simple, why doesn't everybody just do it? Well, there's 3 reasons for that. Number 1, well, I'm sorry, 2 reasons for that. Schools don't teach business. You don't understand the fundamentals of business. And that's completely understandable because nobody bothered to teach you that. And I could get on my soapbox about how tragic I believe it is that we don't teach children the basic fundamental skill of how to provide value and deliver it to the world. So you don't understand the fundamentals of business. And number 2, you don't have a supportive community of peers around you. You've got to have people around you who want the same thing out of life. I had a guest on my show, and she started her own business. And when she initially told her mom that she was starting this business, her mom told her that she was crazy. Her mom said, why would you ever want to do that? You have a good job. You shouldn't give that up. You should just stick with your job. And if you think you're going to start a business, you're absolutely crazy. And but she did it anyway. And then she was having a really rough day one time as she was getting the business started, and she called her mom, and I think she was crying. And her mom's response was, well, see, I told you you shouldn't have started that business. You know, and this person was able to be very successful in spite of that, right? But if you don't have a group of people around you who are cheering for you and who want to see you be successful, you know, your odds of being successful really go down, right? Because you're constantly being bombarded with influences and negativity and folks who don't want to see you succeed. So you've got to have a group of people around you who want to see you succeed. And that's why we created Shift. See, we packed everything that you need to make the shift from employee to entrepreneur into this program. We give you, number 1, the business knowledge that you need to be successful. And number 2, the community that you need to support you. And there's really 2 components to it. The first one is the training component. And we have 6 business building modules in this program. We have, number 1, design your life in business. And we start everything off by looking at, what do you really want your life to look like? What do you want your day-to-day life to look like? How do you want to spend your time and your days? What's really important to you? And you have to design your business around that. So we start by helping you get really clear on that. And then number 2 is product creation. Everybody wants to know about their ideas. Is my idea going to work? Is my idea any good? And I gave you some really great information on this webinar today about that. But really, all of the stuff that we did on this webinar today, we take it to a whole new level inside the training, and that's what the product creation module is all about. Now, in 2015, you would be crazy not to leverage the online world to market and launch your products, and we have a whole training module that talks all about that. And then number 4 is business creation. So we have a whole module that talks about all the simple fundamentals of setting up a business and making sure that you've got things priced correctly and you've got everything figured out and you know what you're going to need in order to be successful and take that business and make it as large as you want. And then number 5 is marketing and promotion. And one of the things that really is intimidating for folks when they're starting a business is this whole idea of marketing. Everybody thinks, oh my gosh, marketing is so hard, I could never do that. And it's actually not. It's actually really fun when you get your head in the right place and you really know what to do. And that's what this module is all about, is showing you how to do marketing and promotion in a way that is fun and that you can do. And then finally, automate and grow your business. This is all about lifting any limits on the amount of money that you're able to make in your business. And that's the thing that really separates entrepreneurship from having a job, is that when you have your own business, you can take it and make it as big as you absolutely want it to be. And this is where we show you how to automate things and how to position yourself to grow that business as large as you would like it to be. Now, the other piece of the Shift program is the fill in the blank workbook. So as you go through these modules, you learn concepts, and then I've taken the entire How to Quit Working system and broken it down into simple fill in the blank worksheets. You get the whole workbook, you get a physical copy, we ship it directly to your house, as well as giving you everything in electronic format. And you just basically fill in the blanks to create your business. It's really pretty amazing. Now, the other component of this is the mastermind community, and this is the part that is my favorite. The training is amazing, and this, when you couple the training with this amazing community of aspiring and successful entrepreneurs, you're absolutely unstoppable. So you get access to an online community to deepen your understanding of the concepts. We have actually facilitated conversations around the training modules, as well as the concepts that you're learning as you go through. You get access to Heather, our How to Quit Working coach, as well as myself to answer your questions, provide feedback, or whatever you need in the forum. You also get a new peer group. You get a group of people who think just like you. They want the same thing out of life that you want, and they're just there to help and support you. And you also get a business book shipped to you each and every month as long as you remain in the program. And we discuss the book in the group so we can facilitate deeper understanding of the concepts. You'll make new friends and even create new business relationships with the people in the group. It's been really fun to watch folks do really great stuff there. We have a monthly Google Hangout where you can ask any questions that you may want, and you can get support. And you also get access to an online area where you can enter your goals and be held accountable by your peers, as well as Heather and I. You know, accountability is a huge piece, particularly when you're working on something by yourself. And then you'll also be paired with an accountability partner. This is somebody that you can work with as you mutually agree upon to support and encourage each other and hold each other accountable. Now, I want to read a couple of testimonials that we have on the program. Mary Ayers in San Francisco says, honestly, I don't usually bother to review courses that I purchase, but this one was definitely different. I was on the fence about it and wasn't sure if it would end up producing what it promises, but turns out it did. Not only does the material definitely live up to the promises, but the way this guy teaches the stuff is amazing. It's just motivating and inspiring. Very down to earth and accessible. I can't wait to keep making more progress on my budding business. Sure to increase your profits. This is an excellent course with loads of useful information. Thank you, Jeff. Highly recommend. And that's Mary Ayers in San Francisco, and her and her husband Dean are getting ready to do some really amazing things. Ted Manassa in Austin, Texas says, a couple of years ago, I was chained to a cubicle, making money for the man, but not making anything meaningful for myself. All that changed after I went through the How to Quit Working program. Now I run my own company, helping small businesses figure out what makes them different and better than everyone else. It is the most meaningful work I've ever done. If you believe that you only have one life to live, you know you need to make the most of it. So join the How to Quit Working program. You'll never look back. What is this all worth? Now, the online training, you can easily pay $1,997 for something similar to that. The mastermind community would easily be $3,000, and I have paid as much as $7,000 for something similar, for a total of about $5,000. Now, your price today is only a $997 registration, and then it is $297 per quarter after that. And you can register now at howtoquitworking.com/shift. Again, it's howtoquitworking.com/shift. Now, if you act now, you will get 50% off a registration today. So that will be $497 today, and then $297 per quarter after that. So that you would only be responsible for $497 today, and that would include the training as well as your first quarter of membership in the mastermind community. And then to remain in the community after the first 3 months or the first quarter is $297 per quarter. Now, there's never any obligation. There's never any requirement to stay in it. You can leave that at any point. So you would only be responsible for $497 today. And if you are ready to quit your job and start a business, just go over to howtoquitworking.com/shift and enter the promo code webinar418. Again, that's webinar418. And that is today only. Go over to howtoquitworking.com/shift and enter the promo code webinar418. And you do have to put webinar in all capital letters, WEBINAR 418 in all caps in the promo code field. Now, if you are on the fence, know that you have a 100% money back guarantee for 30 full days. So if at any point in the first 30 days you decide that this is not for you, then you can just send an email to support@howtoquitworking.com and you will get all of your money back in those first 30 days. Now, there's a couple of fast action bonuses. So if you register today on this webinar, you will receive an additional 30-minute one-on-one live coaching session with either Heather or myself. You will receive the advanced sales training module. I know a lot of folks are terrified of sales and very intimidated by that whole idea, but that is not necessary because we've got some really great training and stuff for you that will show you how to make that easy and even fun. And then finally, you get the high performance training module, which really takes all the most advanced concepts and tools, habits, and attitudes of the highest performing people, whether it's athletes, world leaders, entrepreneurs, CEOs, all those folks, and packs it into an amazing training module. If you have any questions, enter them in the chat below. I'd love to answer your questions. You can also email me at jeff@howtoquitworking.com, and I will get your questions answered just as quickly as I can. Another testimonial from Carol Griesemeyer in Oregon City. Carol says, with all the hype going on faster than the speed of light, this plan is simple, logical, and easy to follow. When you don't have a lot of time, it allows you to work through the process as you can and see results and feel successful. Very well thought out. You don't have to make yourself crazy. I feel like this one I can do. Diana Dettinger in Turin, Italy says, the How to Quit Working system is just so clear and structured. It helped me to create an internet business. It's so simple and easy to follow. You really can see the progress day by day. As a single mom of 4, I needed it to be simple, and the system helped me to understand how to structure everything so I can get the work done and still be free to do things like attend my daughter's first violin concert, which I just did today, knowing that my business was running without me. Again, if you act now, 50% off a registration. That's only $497 today and then $297 per quarter. Use the code webinar418. Again, webinar418. That is today only. You can register over at howtoquitworking.com/shift. I look forward to seeing you inside the Shift program. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thanks for being on the webinar. And thank you for your time. I have had a blast showing you how to quit your job and start a business. The thing that I would just say is that whether the Shift program is for you or not, if what you're doing now, if what you've been doing is not working, then by all means, do something different. Look out there for a different way to approach it. Look for some help. Look for some training. Look for something that will help move you from where you are to where you want to be. I hope Shift is for you. I look forward to seeing you in Shift. Remember, go to howtoquitworking.com/shift. Enter the code webinar418 to get the discount of 50% off today. If you have any questions, I want to answer your questions. You can email me the remainder of the day at jeff@howtoquitworking.com. You can also feel free to call me at 314-265-0015. Again, 314-265-0015. Thank you very much, and I look forward to seeing you inside Shift.